In this video, I'm going to utilize horizontal graduation to achieve a shop-friendly look, retaining width throughout this haircut and complementing it with a skin taper. Before I start, I'm going to locate the crown, and as you can see, it's an offset crown. This will dictate the sectioning pattern for me, so I'm not forcing any part of this haircut. Throughout the sides, I'm sectioning the hair just above the contour of the head. This gives me plenty of visibility and room to complete my cutting methodology. Due to the shape and bone structure of this head, I'm choosing to work with two zones only, one on the top above the rounding of the head and one at the bottom underneath the rounding of the head. To begin, I'm going to isolate a section of hair above the ear. In my opinion, this is the safest place for me to start this haircut. I'm going to clip away any unwanted hair and start my graduation above the ear. This is going to act as a guide for each subsequent section. The shape of my cutting line is going to follow the hairline, which in this scenario is round. I'm going to move up towards the contour of the head, taking new sections roughly the width of my comb. And what you'll notice here is that each new section is over-directed back down to my original section just above the ear. This retains maximum density throughout the sides of the head, creating the heaviest possible form of graduation that I can achieve. You can see the expanded shape here is a very heavy triangular shape. I'm going to move on and complete the section in front of the ear now, ensuring that I find my guide from the previously cut sections. I'm going to repeat the same process as before, working up towards the contour of the head, ensuring that I over-direct each subsequent section back down to the previous. It's important for me to assess the bone structure and find out where the widest points of the head are. This is also going to dictate where I want my graduation to sit. I want my graduation to sit along the widest point of the head and build from that point. For the very first section that I'm cutting here in each new section, my fingers are touching the scalp. This is my reference point from where I want my graduation to start building. And much like the sides, each new subsequent section is over-directed back down to the very first section. Throughout this zone, it's important to pay attention to body position. The shape of this structure is vertically triangular but horizontally round. You can see by my hand position here, my body position is moving around the head. This is what keeps my horizontal shape round. I'm choosing to create a structure like this because one of the fixed factors is the type of hair that I'm working with. I'm working with very dense, curly hair. The curl in the hair will naturally shrink back towards the head as the hair dries. The density of the hair also allows me to create width in this haircut. So I'm using the fixed factors here to my advantage and choosing techniques to create my desired result. I'm going to repeat this process on the other side. Moving on now, I'm going to split the head down the center and I'm going to connect the top panel to the sides. To do this, I'm going to continue on with the theme of graduation and bring the top sections down to meet the graduation in the sides. Once again, this ensures that I retain maximum density and width throughout the sides. I can trust a technique like this because the curl and the density of the hair actually works in my favour as it gets over the rounding of the head. The natural volume from the curls and the density of the hair will actually show off the expanded shape a lot more over the curvature of the head. Once the top has been connected to the sides, I'm going to move on to the layering shape on the top now. I'm going to assess the lengths that I already have and then choose the shapes and length that I want to create on the top. I'm going to create some roundness throughout the crown here and then move into a square layer throughout the top. This will allow me to enhance the curls around the crown area and retain density towards the fringe area. I'm also going to be combining cutting techniques. Throughout the crown here, I'm going to be using a blunt cutting technique. And as I move into the top sections, I'm going to transition into a point cutting technique to add texture and irregularity to the ends of this zone. I chose to transition into a point cutting technique because I'm not going to be adding any extra texture after the shape and length is going to be cut. Due to the density of this hair, I don't want to go in and add air pockets because I feel like it will leave this hair too frizzy. I'm going to complete one side of this zone at a time, taking new subsequent sections no wider than the width of my comb, finding my guide from the previously cut section and repeating the process until all sections are complete. I'm cutting these sections of hair on a vertical axis because in my opinion it's more important that I have control and visibility over the vertical shape rather than the horizontal shape. During all haircuts, we must choose our compromises, and in this scenario, I'm choosing to compromise the horizontal shape. Once I'm happy with the length and the shape, I'm going to move on and start styling the hair. I'm using a paste that contains some shine and ensuring that it's distributed evenly throughout the hair from roots to tips. Before I start to style the hair, I'm going to comb the hair back into place with a wide tooth comb for optimal care and finish on this hair. I'm using a wide vent brush and a concentrator nozzle on my hairdryer. This is to encourage the shape of the haircut and the root direction so that I set this haircut up nicely for my clipper work. I chose to use a wider tooth vent brush because this kind of brush still allows the hair to move slightly. The nature of this haircut is natural and textured, so it made sense for me to choose this kind of tool. Once I'm happy with how the back and the sides are sitting, I'm going to move on now to styling the top. I'm choosing to use a diffuser attachment on my Dyson Supersonic. I'm going to use a very low speed and a low heat. I'm using the diffuser here to encourage the curl back into the hair. This part of the styling process requires a little bit of patience. As the hair starts to approach 60 to 70% dry, I can start to use my hands again to place the hair in the position that is required. Once the drying process is complete, I've set the hair up nicely for my clipper work. My first guard of choice here is going to be a number 3 with the lever fully open. And the first movements I'm going to make are with the grain and the direction that the hair is living in. This is to remove any bulk on the contour of the head and ensure that I have a nice, compact and slim shape. Once that process is complete, I can now turn the clipper over and open up the lever again and start my tapering process. Next up, I need to choose where I want to put my initial guideline. I like to use a finger's depth approach to choose whether I want it low, medium or high. As always, our fading and tapering processes are more about color spread than they are about the name. So in this process, I know that I need to leave myself enough space to stretch out the color. So I'm going to choose to put in a medium guideline. Next up, I'm using my foil shaver to take this panel of hair down to skin. Before I start working on the taper, I'm just going to blend in the beard here using a reverse descending technique. For the taper here, I'm going to be using an ascending technique, which means working upwards. My first guard of choice is a number 1 with the lever fully closed. Then I'm going to take the guard off and use an open blade with the lever fully open. Within each upward movement, I'm going to work back down to the previous line. I'm closing the lever halfway, and then I'm going to close the lever all the way and work down until my zero line disappears. The rule of thumb here is whatever tool puts the zero line in is the tool that gets the zero line out. Before moving on, I'm just going to sharpen up the ear line here so it gives me a guideline and a reference point to the color spread. Next up is a 1.5 guard with the lever fully open. Now all I'm focusing on here is color spread and retaining the shape that I already built with my scissor work. As you can see, it's quite a delicate area of hair here, so I'm using the end of few teeth and the corners of the blades to achieve the color balance. Once I've worked through that tapering process, I'm now going to go in and establish my temple curve to strengthen up this front hairline. I'm going to refine any leftover weight or edges with a scissor over comb technique using the wide teeth of the comb, allowing softness and movement throughout this panel. I'm going to repeat this whole process on the other side. Once I've finished tapering the sides, I'm going to move on to the ear lines now. My general rule of thumb here is to make these lines as sharp as possible whilst leaving them as low and as natural as possible. The last thing I want to do here is to cut into the natural hairline. This will leave us with an undesirable regrowth. Moving on to the back now, the same process applies. I'm going to work with the grain initially to debulk the widest point of the head, and then I'm going to flip the clipper over and start working against the grain. When I'm deciding where to put my initial guideline in the neck, I look for the first strongest point where I can create balance in the hairline. As you can see, there's a lot of natural movement in this hairline, so I'm going to go just above all of those weak points of the hairline. This ensures that I don't make the process too hard for myself, and I still have enough room to create an even and balanced colour spread in this nape area. Before I go on and taper this zone, I'm going to establish my necklines for another guideline and an assessment on even colour spread. The tapering process for the neck here is going to be the same process as I use for the sides. Remember, when fading or tapering, we are creating a vertically triangular shape. Fading and tapering is the shortest form of graduation that we can achieve, and graduation always resides beneath the widest points of the head. So when fading and tapering, all we really need to work out is how much space do we have between the widest point of the head and our initial guideline, and is that enough space to spread out the colour in a desirable fashion. Once again, I'm refining the contours with a little bit of scissor over comb and repeating the same process on both sides, working through my guards in an efficient and effective manner. Once I've worked through the whole process, it's now onto a process of refinement. I'm using my scissors to point cut the perimeter edge to add balance and softness to these areas. To put some finishing touches on this haircut, I'm going to use the straight razor around the temple curve to give it an element of cleanliness and sharpness. I'm also going to do the same around the ear lines and the hairlines to create an element of cleanliness. To finish this look, I'm going to use a little more product and scrunch it throughout the hair with my fingertips to enhance the texture and the curl. And finally, I'm going to place the hair where I want it to live around the perimeter and the hairline. My focus here is the silhouette and the texture. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.